When I look at the majority of my favourite images, the thing that always stands out to me is my preferred focal lengths. My strongest images are almost all wide angle or telephoto. Very, very rarely do I get a really nice image shooting in the sort of mid focal length range. So today I'm up on the mountain and I'm going to be shooting, well, wide angle and telephoto. Why would I change? I know it works. In all seriousness, I'll shoot whatever comes up, but what I'm hoping to do today is find some wide angle and telephoto compositions where I can talk around the benefits that I see with shooting in those kind of extremes, wide angle and telephoto. Go wide or go long. That's what it's all about. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. So I've done a lot of coastal stuff recently and I really fancied a change today. It's the end of September. In fact, today is the 30th and it's a little bit cooler. We're still about 25, 26 degrees at the moment. I've really come up here to just have a play with some shots, some compositions using telephoto to pick out details and isolate subjects, and then maybe to use some wide angle, because I'd kind of like to talk through what I see as the advantages of wide angle and telephoto. I'm just taking a little wander along. I'm going to see what I can find to shoot, and I think potentially I can see a subject just in front of me that might work as a telephoto. So let's have a look at that. So one of the great things about shooting telephoto is you can use it as a way to remove distracting elements, to focus in on some detail. And that's exactly what I'm doing with this shot, because over there's a pale coloured rocky outcrop. There is actually a little house just to one side of it, which I've passed loads of times, like a little farmhouse. But I don't really want that. What I want is that pale coloured rocky outcrop which has got trees on the top, and then behind that, in cloud shadow basically, is the mountain. That's creating quite a nice contrast. So I'm shooting this with the telephoto lens, about 136mm, something like that. I could maybe go in a little tiny bit tighter. It's just... And I'm probably going to have to crop this down just a little bit, because what I don't want is any of the sky in there. I just want basically the rocky outcrop with the trees and then the mountain in the background to act as contrasts. I'll see if I can show you on the back of the camera, but with the bright light it may be a bit difficult. Okay, I'm going to turn the exposure up a fair way. Might be able to see it. So here's the rocky bit, trees on the top, and then the more shadowy mountain area in the background. If I put it back, it might show what the contrasts are like a bit better. I'll give it a go. One of the other advantages to telephoto is you can shoot scenes in light conditions that just wouldn't work with a wider angle. I've got a scene in front of me now. The sun is very bright, still pretty high. We're still almost an hour before sunset. And if I shot this wide angle, the sky would be, you know, blown out harsh. Even with filters or bracketing or anything else, it wouldn't look nice. But by zooming in, I'm taking out the brightest part of the sky. And what I've got in the foreground is I've got like a ridge with a little bush and that on the top, and then behind that, going back in layers and haze and kind of rays of light, is sort of like the mountain ranges going back and a bit of cloud up above. And that could look quite nice. So one of the things that you often try to do with a wide angle lens is get something prominent in the foreground. It adds depth and perspective, and that's where wide angle lenses really come into their own. But you've got to be careful how that element in the foreground interacts with the background. I'm using a tuft of grass down here as my foreground. It's getting some side lighting from the sun over there, which is making it look quite nice. It's got darker greens and lighter greens and whites in it, which should look quite nice. And then in the background, I've got some nice side lighting hitting the mountain and some quite nice moody cloud across there as well, all of which looks really nice. The temptation was to get the camera much lower down to really pull that foreground in and make it a bit more prominent, to be honest. But what I've got to be careful of is that foreground is all grasses sticking up, and if I'm not careful, they're going to be sticking up above where the mountain is, and I don't want the grasses up in front of the mountain. I want a clear separation. So that's what I've got here, and hopefully it should look quite nice, especially with that nice sky and some side light. Back to telephoto, and look at that, we've got some nice side lighting hitting the rocks coming in here at an angle across, a glow on the mountain and some nice moody cloud. That looks pretty good to me. I don't think we're going to get much in the way of a spectacular sunset, because I think, as is so often the case here, the clouds out there are blocking the sun. But there are some quite pleasant sort of pastel-y tones, and there's a couple of interesting cloud formations that are grabbing me. So I'm kind of trying to get a shot of those just kind of sitting above some of the mountains. So what we've got is like some stripy patterns in the clouds, and then there's almost like a couple of funnels coming down and curving out. We're just past sunset now. I don't think anything more is going to happen. But just in case we get that post-sunset flare-up in about 15 minutes or so, I've decided to move to a different location, or just further down the trail, because the scene, the place I was at, isn't really going to work compositionally if we get a beautiful sky, you know, post-sunset sky. It's a scene that requires light on the foreground really to work, and that's not going to happen. So I'm just moving on to somewhere where if we do get a great sky, we can make use of it. But I'm not holding out too much hope. Okay, the sun has gone down completely now. All the light's gone. We didn't get a post-sunset glow, which I was hoping might happen, but didn't really hold out a lot of hope for. So I'm done and going back to the car and going home. It's been something different, made a change from all the coastal stuff I've been doing recently. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a like, share it on social media. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. If you've enjoyed this video and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. And as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, so thank you very much. And until the next video, bye.